All right, guys. It is Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern and also 7 p.m. Central, which I'm required to mention for my co-host Brick75, aka Brian Hooper. We are back for another episode of Lolz, episode 108. Brian, how are you feeling after 107 episodes under our belt?
Exhausted. It took years to accomplish this. So.
All right, guys. How many episodes does Rogan have under his belt? What is he
up to? God, like 1,200.
1,200, man. That's like that. So if I do the math correct, we're a little less than 1,100 episodes away from an 8-figure contract with Spotify.
Yeah. At this rate, one show a week, we'll catch up if he dies, and then we do one show a week for 120 years or something.
Yeah. What do you think? To me, that was kind of obviously he's getting loads of money, but he was already richer than he'll ever need to be. Do you think he is going to sacrifice any creative or editorial control over his show?
Obviously, pure speculation. My guess is he will not at all.
Yeah.
I think he had all the leverage.
Yeah.
All the leverage. So when I first heard it, I was like, oh man, that's kind of a sellout move for Joe Rogan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like my first, 10 minutes. And then I thought about it. I'm like, actually, no, this makes quite a bit of sense because of that. Because I think he probably locked in all creative control, everything he asked for. He's like, I'm not doing anything different. I'll say whatever I want. And then I wouldn't even be surprised if they give him pressure that he can get out of it with money.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And the reason I say that is because I think part of it was because he was trying to get out of YouTube, their censorship lockdowns that they've kind of been ramping up for the past few years or so. And so maybe they gave him some guarantees and he's got money locked in there. I can't believe their market share went up $1.5 billion or something when he signed with them. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
Or the Spotify's actual.
I did.
Yeah. And so with YouTube, and the other thing about him being a sellout or whatever is well, do you want YouTube to get the money? Right. You know what I mean? They're making, they probably lost $1 billion with him not doing their content on there anymore. It's who do you want to get the money? So it's I'd rather him have it.
Well, that's the thing too, of thinking about someone like him and you're trying to untangle the relationship between his success and the platform. I wonder how many viewers, if Joe Rogan was just okay, I'm going to self-produce this, his own video streaming, they spin up a site where he's going to stream it on his own website. I wonder what kind of reach he could get just purely on his own name. I'm sure he's got email lists, his Twitter, whatever. I wonder how much of that audience he could retain.
There is, that's a good question. I bet less than Spotify.
Yeah.
Less than switching to Spotify and probably a decent amount, but nowhere near the convenience of YouTube is that. I wonder if Spotify is a Roku app and they're going to have to start, because they have a video platform. Apparently, I didn't know that. How many people even knew that they offer?
Well, and I think that's one of their goals right now is to beef up their video. And they say if we can make this guy exclusive, one of the biggest shows on YouTube, that's a real good launch point for them.
Isn't that great? I think that's fantastic. Where it sucks that not everything's in the same one place.
Yeah.
But the more that these other companies put pressure on Google to compete against them, they're going to stop this censorship, which personally, I don't think they should be censoring with half these accusations that of the people that they're censoring. So if they start losing a lot of these big names, they're going to start getting desperate and they're not going to, crack down because they're going to need the revenue. They're going to need the content creators. So the more, the merrier in my book.
I wonder for him too, if he's not sacrificing, the only thing he's sacrificing is the amount of platforms where people can consume him, which theoretically, at least in the near term, will diminish his reach. But
Yeah.
otherwise, it seems like he just got an 8-figure check to just literally keep doing exactly what he was doing.
Yes, that's what exactly how I would sum it up. And maybe with less influence if he loses, because that means he can't do iTunes, right?
Yeah, no
Yeah,
iTunes.
no iTunes, no YouTube. So that's huge distribution right there. And a lot of people, because remember Howard Stern back in the day was
From
huge.
to Sirius, yeah.
Yeah, his E show was huge, and then Sirius bought him out 500 million over. So basically, like similar to Joe Rogan's number, 500 million over 5 years, I think it was. And like I stopped watching him, and I think a lot of people did, and he has crazier fans than Rogan, right? Like
Yeah.
more, I mean, actual crazy and like more fanatical. Like they'll follow him anywhere. So it'll be interesting to see how much does come over to Spotify. If they can get into like the podcatcher too, though, somehow, because like I
Yeah.
have like a pod app, right? And if it keeps showing up in there, like it's not, the audio is not going to change for me.
Right. In my thing about that right now too is we all have our pod. I use Pocket Casts. I
That's right.
love the organization of it, the playlists I can make, all the settings. Like right now, I find Spotify kind of their interface is a little too simplistic right now for my liking and how it works. But if they're making this big of an investment in one single guy, they're clearly about to make some big investments in their entire podcasting infrastructure. So I could definitely see myself in the next year or two, if they really beef it up, like, moving all my, podcast consumption over to Spotify, because then all of a sudden their big selling point is, look, hey, Peter, you're already here listening to music on Spotify 10 hours a week. Now you can also do your 5 hours of podcasting over here as well under one umbrella.
You saw they got Bill Simmons, the Ringer, too, right?
Yeah, but his stuff isn't exclusive. Like you can still get that, all his shows
Oh, it's
through his
not,
pod. Yeah.
because they gave him 200 million, right?
Yeah. And I think maybe part of their contract was going forward, they were going to have to create exclusive shows, but or create new content that was exclusive, but all of their, grandfathered in shows were still available everywhere else.
That's strange. I don't know why
Yeah.
I give him any money. I kind of thought it was weird that Bill Simmons would get 200 and Joe Rogan would only get 100. Honestly, it's like, I like Bill Simmons, but it's like I'm not going to go anywhere special for Bill Simmons. Sorry, not anymore. Maybe in like the mid 2000s or something.
I think Bill Simmons is able to continue to, and I do think it's his strongest suit. I don't consume any Bill Simmons content, but I do listen to a decent amount of Ringer podcasts, and he's always been a good evaluator of talent. And I feel like he generally builds like a good stable of writers at Grantland, a good set of podcasters. And I think he probably was just able to sell Spotify in the same way he was able to sell HBO on their investment in the Ringer, of just being like, hey, I will build a network with a lot of firepower, a lot of talent, a lot of good content. But how that is worth however many, millions of dollars for no exclusive content, that is kind of crazy.
That doesn't make any sense. I just assumed, I didn't look into it. I just assumed if Joe Rogan was exclusive, that he was exclusive. That's strange.
Yep. No, you can still get your cousin Sal and his other cronies on the podcasts of your choice through iTunes. Do you know what's kind of crazy about all of this is like iTunes just like woke up with this like podcasting empire in their laps. The only currency people really care about as far as podcasting metrics is where you are at on the iTunes charts. And yet they are just perfectly content to not try to build on it further. Like they're focused on TV, they're focused on hardware. Like they just do not care about this podcast. Like they're completely content to let Spotify and these other companies kind of have the podcast piece of the pie.
Yeah. And it seems like YouTube too, right? The video, the vodcast or whatever the version would be.
Yeah.
You figure they might change their tune or fight. I mean, they have such a big market share, so much content on YouTube. Yeah, but iTunes definitely is playing that. No, we're Apple, we're iTunes. Go after yourself. It seems
Yeah,
like
and the thing in like YouTube too and Google, like a few years ago when I was doing more streaming from my account, they had a really simple integration with Google Hangouts, where I'd send you the Google Hangout link. I press live just from the Google Hangouts and it immediately blasts off. You don't need any broadcasting software, any of the other additional stuff. And then they got rid of that, and they just don't seem to care or be prioritizing their own functionality for live streaming, even though it makes so much sense. Why wouldn't you give creators more tools to do that?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think Twitter could do something like this? Like, I know it's not the same thing, but like, who's like, all right, this is a bad one. Trump or somebody huge with a huge following. And then they go, you have your tweets exclusively on this new site.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think that would work if they signed like 10 huge tweeters?
Yeah. I wonder, the thing is like, I guess you could say the similar thing. Well, Rogan had options, but like Twitter kind of has a monopoly in a way, right? Like, what would even be an alternative? I mean, Facebook isn't going to try to pull anyone away.
No,
I'm just trying to think like what would be the incentive? Like Trump's gonna make all of his thoughts exclusive on Twitter without you paying him.
Yeah, well, and Elon Musk starts one or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I brought it up, is the monopoly claims, and like just throughout history. Like remember in the 90s or whatever, 2000s, Walmart was the monopoly, right? And now it's Amazon. Before Walmart, it was Sears, and they went broke. And it's gonna happen again, I think. And this could be the start of it, with Spotify jumping into the ring against YouTube, and maybe there'll be some other competitors jumping in the ring against Twitter. And you could only in some DFS sites that me and you have talked about, not to mention any of them, you could only put up shitty product or do so many mistakes for so long before your competitors start to catch up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's also the, I know there have been some sites that have, tried to come up with some like censorship resistant, software, but it's just hard getting a user base over there. They don't have the resources to get the UI and the app to what it needs to be to actually compete. The thing that's always kind of a mind fuck for me with Twitter is like, I always thought of it as this, this bubble, right? That it's this pretty relatively niche thing, and that there's so much of an audience out there. Like, just even take fantasy football. Like, there are so many people that are on YouTube or Reddit or just consume ESPN content that are not on Twitter. And yet we see someone like Trump, with the biggest platform imaginable, like, using this platform to reach huge swaths of his constituency and whatever. So it's always like weird to me. I'm like, is it a niche? Is it just this thing for journalists and content creators? Or is it truly bigger that people are coming out of the woodwork to follow these bigger personalities on here?
I would say the latter. I think they are coming out of the woodwork at this point. Well, like, do you think younger people, like, they're kind of just grew up this way, right? At this point, people like under 25 or maybe even under 30,
yeah,
they all have Twitter accounts, and like my mom now goes on Twitter like crazy.
Really?
Right? Yes, obsessed with Trump, but not in the positive way.
Yeah. Well, that's another interest. If Twitter had a referral link, and it was actually my hypothetical isn't going to work perfectly, but don't you think Trump is responsible for more people joining Twitter than any other user?
I have no idea. That's a good question. I did look at the numbers the other day. Obama followers and Trump followers. Do you want to guess on the difference between the two?
I actually was looking at this the other day too, because aren't they both around like 75 million range?
No, I thought, maybe my memory's wrong. So Trump is at Trump's at 80
Okay.
And Obama is at 117.7.
Oh,
That's
117. He might have the most of anyone on all of Twitter.
all right. Let's do a quick guessing game. Okay, amount of tweets. Barack Obama.
The number of tweets he has sent since his account's creation.
Yeah, and
I'll say
was it created in March 2007?
Right, because they use that as one of their big campaign tools. That was like the whole like, oh, they're the first.
That's not that. That's pretty early. The March 2007. If you think about it, like that would have been that long. Or was it November 2008 was when the election was? So yeah, a year and whatever. Okay, 8 months. That's plenty of time. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, I will guess. I think it's pretty low. I'll guess 5,500 tweets.
5,500. Okay, that is pretty low. I wish I didn't have to look myself. It's 15,000.8.
Okay. See, the thing is, I don't follow any politicians on Twitter. At least I don't think. I'm sure someone could go scroll through and find like one or two or whatever. But I generally don't follow. So I don't have a good frequency baseline for how much those kind of accounts tweet.
Do you follow Trump?
No, but I see all this stuff in my timeline nonstop.
Right,
like
you don't have to.
Yeah, I feel like I don't have to. All the good stuff gets shared anyways.
It's all good, man. No, I'm kidding. So I'm not going to look at it. How many tweets do you? And I'll guess too after you guess. How many tweets do you think Trump's done?
Oh God,
so Obama's done 16,000.
I'm gonna say when was Trump's account created?
I don't want to look at it. Because I want to guess too. Maybe I can cover it up. Hold on. He was created in 2009.
Okay, let's chat. You guys guess with us here. How many Trump tweets do we think since 2009? I am going to say, I think it's legitimately like 20 times as much as Obama. I'll say 115,000 tweets.
I was going to guess over 100. So that's less than 10x though.
Yeah. I know. I was trying to rein myself back in.
I mean, he's a maniac. I'm gonna go 150. I'm gonna go over. Okay, so 115, 150.
Yeah.
Way off. Both of us. 51.8.
Wow. What restraint.
We won. We both lost on Price is Right rules, but what restraint.
I mean, that's impressive. I mean, he could have easily, in my mind, have done an extra,
Look at these geniuses in chat. They're all within 1,000.
Oh my God, you guys are getting wrecked. Yeah, it's a tough scene. All right, Brian, are you playing this NASCAR slate?
Yes. Yeah. Looks like Logano's winning right now. Another caution.
Do you know what killed me on, was it Sunday? That Jimmy Johnson wreck really hurt me. And now he's
hurt me too.
I went back to the well. He's my most owned guy on this slate.
Yeah, I think me too. He was definitely one of the value plays. Oh no, it's not it's a caution. That hurt me. I was winning pretty decent through 2/3 of the race. And that NASCAR, that's gonna happen.
Dude, that's like, I normally, me, I'm normally like superstitious, like with slow burning like DFS scoring, like the MMA where it's like building one by one. I don't like to look. Whereas with NASCAR, where things change every second, I don't mind looking and just watching like $1,000 swings. Just like it's pretty it's a pretty tough sweat.
Yeah, you can go from like top 10 to like the next lap, you're like 9,000. Like what? How did that happen?
And I don't even know, like, because I'm sure I don't know the sport well enough. Not a NASCAR thought leader, despite what I might have said. But like when they pit, like the scoring is going to all change around, even though like some guys haven't pitted yet. So it's not even reflective of like their true position.
Yeah, that definitely happens. And you never know how they're going to come out of the pit and like who's going to get lapped. So like you never really know in NASCAR till the last lap, till it's over.
Is it a hot take to say I liked iRacing better?
No, not for me. I agree with you. Bigger
iRacing was
edge,
fun.
that's for
Yeah.
sure. Especially now with this the new starting lineups, how they do it by like, these arbitrary metrics as opposed to qualifying races. So way in advance where everyone's going to be starting. And that just makes it easier to meet people to like make lineups, gives them more time to think about it.
Yeah.
More content providers can push it out there. Something to keep in mind with these NASCAR MMA, since that's all there is right now, is because there's so many dupes, you can definitely have like an average night that like you would consider an average night in other sports, but in these dupey sports, you just get crushed because there's so many dupes. So like if chalk goes off and you're playing some sort of contrarian style with which both of us play, and like 120 teams tie for first, like they gobble up all the money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like even though you finished, you had a fairly decent average, 150 lineups, you're only going to get back like 5-10% of your money because of the dupes.
Yeah.
Because there's just so many, chalky teams up there just gobbling up all the top heavy prize pool money.
But MMA is way more dupe than NASCAR, right? When you got 30 plus drivers, there's a way more combinations.
Yeah, well, not only is there way more combinations, but you generally don't want fighters fighting against each other, so that even limits it even more.
Right.
In the MMA, but NASCAR, even though this Sunday the guy who took down the 200K with a solo by himself, I think that's what. After I saw my ass getting my ass kicked, I just swiped DraftKings closed.
Yeah.
I looked and some guy took it down, but below him, second place was like 20-way tied. So like even if there's a solo to first and then a 20-way tie and then a 20-way tie and then a 15-way tie and then a 20-way tie, if you have an average contrarian day, you can be getting 15% back, 10% back. It's not. Each sport is kind of unique like that. Like in baseball, you could take like first and like the rest of your lineups are garbage.
Yeah.
It can happen, not frequently, obviously, but like it can happen in these other sports more so than these sports where there's lots of dupes.
Yeah.
I mean, so NASCAR does have 40 racers compared to the, 24 or so fighters. But like some of these racers are basically unplayable each week.
Yeah.
They're going to garner 1% basically every time. So it's really more like 35. And the problem is that they have to release the salaries before they know the starting positions.
Yeah.
Which I think they've been able to, since the starting positions are released early now because they don't have the qualifying laps, they can price them better. But like if you just price someone wrong, you take your best guess, 6 days before the race starts, and then the guy fails inspection and gets pushed to 40th, and he's a top 6 driver or something. Like he's just chalk. You know what I mean? And it's going to be tough to fade him. So there's going to be a lot of dupes that in NASCAR just because of that.
We got Carlos Soto in the chat saying we need the captain, and I am going to make a slight edit to his, and the assistant to the regional captain for NASCAR. It does, like all these sports, the even when PGA comes back, NASCAR, MMA, like how can you make an argument against a captain at the very least, much less an assistant to the regional captain?
Yeah, I would be fine with both. Either would be better than this. NASCAR is not as bad as MMA, but like why not just do it?
Yeah, I mean, and even though FanDuel's isn't perfect, like the fact that you can still, play even like the most popular captain and he's still only going to be like 16% owned in the captain spot versus like 50% owned just as a flex guy, like that's a huge difference for what you can do. And like, because if you want to get leverage, like on a popular guy, like you can do that via the captain spot. Whereas if you want to get leverage on who was the the one of the MMA fighters, you have to have 100% of them just to have leverage over the
Right.
chalk.
Yeah. 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 That's true. It's not really how I think of leverage, but like how you
Yeah.
generally leverage is talked about. Yeah. Um, you know, with I see Jake Hari is in chat here saying he's getting crushed in these sports. So Jake plays NHL and MLB mainly,
I
and
remember him as a big LOL guy too.
I think he dabbled.
No, he did. He was writing articles breaking down Osimo's and Brick
Right.
75's roster constructions.
That's right. He did do that.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like baseball might not be backed, which so Jake, you're gonna need to learn these bad boys if that's the case. Back really quick with the dupes though, with captain and showdown football. One of the interesting things about that is like guys duping themselves is kind of like an edge because they're not trying to be unique, unless dupey. And so you could kind of get an edge by just so many guys not paying attention to that fact. And then they all have the same lineup where then you just be slightly unique and then you have a shot.
Yeah.
So like you could still win at it. It's just when there's just not enough combinations, it can really wear on the enjoyment, of sweating the game and picking line. Like how contrarian do you want to go, right?
Yeah. And, I think we talked about this with LOL and why I think it took off as a DFS sport is because the correlations, granted they were pretty simple, were fun for people to build lineups with strong correlations. And whereas I know with PGA there can be some stuff based on weather, but with NASCAR and MMA and these other sports, when we have no correlations, we have no captain. I mean, it's really I don't know. It's just a more limited game. It's just way less intellectually interesting.
Yeah. There is talk, although I haven't dove too deep into this, that there's correlations between drivers on the same team.
Okay, I have heard this because they might
draft off
like draft it, and that's true.
I could actually probably try to figure that out. It might take a little bit, but that could be something interesting. I mean, this is what just the second race they're back. Yesterday's was canceled or not, or postponed, I should say. You know how DK is with rain and internet connections. You never know what event's going to play, what event's going to count. And the problem with that is yesterday's you didn't do yesterday's. I did. And Kyle Busch was in there, and I think I had 70% of them. He was a huge favorite. He was like a 68% favorite to win in NASCAR in a 40-man field. That's insane.
Yeah.
And now it's like, is he going to play? Because he's racing tonight. Let's see if he's out there.
Who are you looking for?
Kyle Busch. I don't see his name on there. I mean, I'm assuming unless he crashed, he's out there. He's just losing. Yeah, he's out there. He's 21st. So he's racing tonight, and then they're supposed to race at like 11 or noon tomorrow, and then they got a race on Sunday. You
wouldn't have any concerns about him getting back out there if this was iRacing, Brian. You roll out of bed, right over to the rig.
iRacing's more of a skill sport than this.
Yeah, that is going to be really funny when I guess we're in this middle ground. Obviously, people will be really stoked when NBA and NFL and stuff is back, but like in the interim, when we get some of these back, and they're like, "Man, I kind of miss just League of Legends. I kind of miss iRacing." It's just like take me back to quarantine DFS era. Did
you see Dan Beck's tweet? I think it was his. Like, what would it? Well, I think it started as, "Will you play League of Legends?"
Oh yeah, I didn't follow up on it though.
He did. There was like two. One was, "Will you play when the real sports come back?" And the second one was like, "What would it take?" Like, he responded to Matic, I think. Like if it was a 10K GPP, would you play?
Yeah.
And so I don't know how you feel, but I'll go first. My answer was no.
Yeah.
Just if I only had binary choice of yes or no, it's probably going to be no. And then 10K GPP, definitely not. But then one of the other guys, FJ Bourne, one of the
Yeah.
DFS players, he said if it's like 80K GPP for the big one, he would play pretty much every slate, and he wouldn't play any of the others. And I
Yeah.
think Rocket League is kind of dead now. It seems like after another debacle. I don't know if you saw that one.
I didn't. What was the recent debate? Rocket League, like I even played a couple slates of CSGO. I never touched Rocket League.
They like listed a game that wasn't even on the schedule or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and now the slate that was either today or tomorrow's the Iberian Rocket League.
Yeah.
So they're scraping bottom of the barrel. So what was I talking about? It's like, yeah, 80K. The cool thing about League of Legends is you could kind of set it and forget it.
Yeah.
Like if you had gotten, half an hour or whatever long it takes you to do your lineups, if you got half an hour during your day, you can make it, put it in, and forget about it.
Yeah.
Which other sports you got to be there usually right before a lock.
And I will say I was playing a lot of League of Legends, and I would have played even more if it was like rostering the position slot for the team where there was going to be no funny business, or Viper fly solo situations. Same thing. Like I would play KBO if I was just rostering, the team's out, right fielder.
Yeah, we talked about this last week,
Yeah.
didn't we? Yeah, totally. I totally agree with that. I wonder if that breaks the law. That UIEGA
That's interesting.
exception. I wonder if it has to be the player or something like that. No, because isn't FanDuel doing the pitcher slot?
Oh, are they? I haven't
KBO?
played KBO. Yeah.
Let me check. I played last night and got crushed.
Oh, don't worry, guys. We have never forgotten about League of Legends. We're actually gonna mention that they now have some contests posted. Is it? I know someone in the chat will let us know. Is it the summer split? Is that what is on tap here for League of Legends? We got ourselves mid-season special is what DraftKings is calling it. They have 150K prize pool, 50K up top. And that is kicking off in 174 hours, guys. So we are going to
get your lineups in now.
I think we said we're actually going to count it down, right? Where we're going to go live until League of Legends tip off.
We're starting now and we're not signing off.
Head down. I bet that stunt, Brian, that's how we get the Spotify money. Can you imagine the article? Two degenerate, like I don't even, when even is the date? I can't do the math on 174 hours. When is this?
It's next Friday, the 28th, I think.
Okay, that's not that far away. But that still would be absolutely insane.
Yeah, no, you can't do that. Isn't it like you can't even stay up more than
what we'd have to do is we would say that Lolz was staying live until it, and you and me would have to go in shifts. Where we'd kind of, I'd go take a 2-hour nap, you'd do a solo vamp, then I'd come, hold down the fort while you got some sleep.
Would we just get hammered?
I think we would just by the end of it, we would be incredibly disheveled. We'd be hammered. We would be incoherent in everything we'd say. But man, just think about the drumbeat of buzz we would have built for this League of Legends.
Does it count if we pass out but leave the cameras on?
I think one of us needs to be entertaining the audience at all times. Although you could argue that how many people do you think would watch one of us sleep? Like if I just went and left my camera up and just curled up on that couch over there.
I think there is a minimum. I think you would get at least 2 dudes.
Hey,
minimum.
Nothing would help my own self-worth and my own vanity more than knowing a couple of my DFS bros on the internet want to watch me sleep under my bright fluorescent light.
You put up on your Periscope, you'd probably get hundreds of people, thousands throughout the week watching you sleep.
That do you remember when Stefan Marbury, this was Twitter had, sorry, this was, I remember it because I had just moved out here. It was the summer of 2009. Do you remember when he was just doing the nonstop live streaming?
No,
I
no,
can't even remember
Starberry.
what platform he was doing it, but he had like a few iconic moments where one, he got in a car wreck while he was live streaming. He had the moment where he was eating Vaseline on camera.
Was
But
it Vines?
it wasn't Vine. It was like, it was some kind of other live streaming. Like, it wasn't even YouTube. It
Was
was
he
some
still
other,
playing then? Or is
he
he in
what
China?
he was, I think it was right before he went to China. I think it was, he was having his like transition out of the NBA crisis. And I remember it because, and the thing I remember about why the idea of watching someone sleep is like, I had just moved out here. I had a job and I would come home at my lunch break and I would have my laptop on. And while I would eat my lunch, I would just watch the Stephon Marbury thing. And it was so soothing. Like he would have the camera like set up on the porch and he would face it down at the pool. And I'd just come home and I'm like, oh, Marbury's just swimming in his pool right now. It was just like so oddly comforting.
That
He was ahead of his time.
that's when Rogan started his podcast, I think.
Yeah.
2009, right around there.
Taylor, producer Taylor in the chat says there are full montages of Twitch streamers falling asleep on stream. That's
I've
funny.
seen-
I thought you were going to say that there's like, imagine if you were a Twitch content creator and your entire hook was just that you slept on stream. I'm sure that could work for a girl. I bet they could build an empire. Like there's weird fetishes for everything out there. I'm sure some girl could sleep on camera and get 10,000 concurrents.
Oh yeah, definitely. Some of the channels my buddies have shown me with like the Twitch girl gamers on there, it's like they're just thousands of guys drooling over them.
Let us know in the chat what's the weirdest niche thing you've ever watched on Twitch. I'm sure there's subcultures and niches out there that I can't even comprehend, Brian.
Oh God, yeah. There's probably some weird shit out there.
Taylor says there's a jar of peanut butter stream. Man.
Okay, I'm not against that one. There are some cool ones though, like the Eagle's Nest and stuff like that. Nature camps. Those ones are pretty cool.
I have there's a cemetery by my house, and before it would be a place before coronavirus that I would love to go walk in. There would be hardly anyone in there. And there's a huge eagle's nest in there. It has to be one of the only or handful of eagles, bald eagles in Massachusetts. But now like the secret's out, and one, coronavirus, so more people are looking for public places to go hang out anyways. And two, you'll just walk in there and there'll just be like a paparazzi of guys with these huge lenses all waiting to get a shot of the eagle. But yeah, I can get down with eagles.
There was Rex Chapman had a tweet today. Did you see that one where some guy in a boat feeding an eagle, throwing a fish up, the eagle flying past them and catching it?
Yeah. The King is upset that I missed one of his chats. I'm sorry, Sir King. There's literally Twitch channels that are specifically made to watch the streamer sleep. See, I knew this shit already existed. I can't come up with it.
Okay.
Jake's calling you out. He's saying that his buddies have shown him those streamer channels too. Lewis says that there's some deers humping streams. I mean,
what? All right.
Like, how is that even like? I can understand like deers hump, but like, how could that? They can't hump like in perpetuity.
Can you imagine like coming home from a hard day's work, cracking a Miller Lite, kicking back your lazy boy, putting on the deer fucking channel?
I mean, the thing is, like
the rest of the night,
it's ridiculous. But even the concept of watching, like, I understand why Twitch is so popular, but like, take the poker streamers for example.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they'll watch someone play poker for 8 hours.
Yeah.
Like, and to me, it's just, and again, I'm not even knocking that. Like, we all have the kind of content. I just like can't imagine watching anything at my computer for that long.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I want to make fun of it, but it is kind of awesome.
Yes.
That's kind of what I love about YouTube is it's just got all of these little niche. It's like public access TV back in the day, but for anybody at any time. right? And they had some crazy public access TV shows back in the day, and I think it's awesome. Like it's like I wish they would get rid of all the network stuff on there. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
I don't want to see Stephen Colbert's stupid little skit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I can find that. This is YouTube. It's like public access.
Well,
I
it's
want to see
funny.
the deer humping channel.
Yeah. Well, it's now funny. I'm kind of taking back. Granted, I've never listened to this in one fell swoop, but there's these two New York comedians I like, Connor Ratliff and JD Amato, and they had a podcast that they called 12-Hour Day, and they just recorded in 12-hour chunks, exactly as it said, and the thing that's fascinating about it is for two, like obviously they don't do it that often. They do it like once every 6 months. And they've done it for probably 7 or 8 years. So one, just like knowing them, like getting to know them at the beginning into where they are in their lives now. And Connor's now like a working actor and JD's a big director, and just seeing their growth. And then on top of it, what's fascinating about it is when you record for that long, at some point, like you and me are entirely conscious right now of the fact that we're recording. But when you record for 12 hours, you start to forget that. And it does feel like you're truly eavesdropping on a conversation. And you'll hear their tone, like they'll remember that they're recording, not that they're censoring themselves, but there's this tonal shift. And it's fascinating. I think it's a fascinating concept for a show.
That is, I didn't know that existed. That's exhausting. 12 hours with a camera on you.
No,
Did you?
but not a camera. It's just a podcast, so just
Oh,
audio.
okay.
Yeah.
Was it all live, or could they edit it?
No, so he would only edit if there was like an issue. Like if someone mentioned a name, he would like that shouldn't have been. They'll bleep it, or if he had technical difficulties, he'd stitch it together. But otherwise, it was completely uninterrupted.
Did you see Spotify also bought Gimlet Media?
Yeah, yeah, that was a little while ago, right?
Yeah, I don't know when it happened. I just know that I just saw a news story that they purchased those three. And I mean, you might know this, but this reminded me of when Gimlet Media started. I don't listen to him anymore, but he was like the guy who started the NPR podcasts. Like I can't remember which one, but those early ones, This American Life, maybe. And so he left NPR to start that Gimlet Media network, and his first show was him showing the process of the startup of creating Gimlet Media and everything it took to do it, and like hiring a naming company to come up with the name Gimlet. And it's interesting that now, what is it, 5 years, 6 years later, he's bought out.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. You can see it from start to finish.
And that first season of Startup was really good. I think the second season was even better. Like as the company was growing and the kind of tough conversations he was having to have with his co-founder, it was like really raw and real. It's a little different in that like they're still kind of curating and telling the story they want to tell, but like they did a good job of not censoring. Like they put in some stuff that you're like, man, that's a hard conversation to air publicly, whether it's about financials or letting people go.
Huh. Yeah, I didn't get that deep into it. I listened to some of the other ones he brought on a little bit. He would like wake his wife up in the middle of the night and ask her questions and stuff.
Yeah.
That was, yeah. It's interesting though. Yeah.
Yeah. It is too.
Another caution.
Uh-oh.
Starting up again. I missed it.
I do not know how to sweat NASCAR.
It's not that great of a sweat.
No.
It's
the only one I remember is it Daytona 500 and the restrictor plate races where
I have a couple of them, but yeah,
where it just lends itself to all the chaos at the end.
But like, why is that a great sweat either? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it might be a great view if you're into it and you're into crashes and stuff. Like I don't can't blame you there. But for DFS sweat, it doesn't, like you're like in first.
Yeah.
4/5 of the way through, it doesn't mean shit.
Yep.
And like when someone crashes, you're kind of just going like, okay, was that my car? I don't know if that was my car.
Yeah.
How many cars were in it? And they don't really get the full picture a lot of the time. It's nowhere near the sweat MMA is for DFS, for DFS purposes.
Yeah. The only thing I don't like about MMA for a sweat is the final fight ends up being the highest owned fight of the night. So like
Right.
it's almost like I'd rather that fight go first, you know?
Yeah.
Obviously, they'd never do that, but for like DFS purposes, and then you get into the more lesser owned fights as you go, that as a sweat would make it more interesting where it's like, okay, half the field has one of these two guys.
Yeah. Yeah. They I still don't think that, I think people still take them too much and take them fighting each other too much. I could be wrong. So that might be like an inefficiency that you could maybe profit off of.
Yeah.
But let's just say it's not. Then I would like listen to Alex Baker's idea of they should just score 5 rounders different than they score 3 rounders like they do in tennis.
Yeah.
And then maybe you drop that ownership. But like, what are you going to do? Like, here's another thing too: is the big fight is the big names. So
Exactly.
you're gonna get them. You're gonna get the Yankees effect of people
Yeah.
betting more on the guys they like.
And if I recall, and this is probably an anomaly, but I want to say all three of the cards this past week for UFC in the main event, the underdog won.
Was in this last week?
Yep.
I was doing
because
okay
Gaethje, Overeem, and then
they're both dogs. Yep.
And then there was, I can't remember who the other one was, but I'm pretty sure it was all dogs. And all of these guys have been priced in the mid sevens, which is, I mean,
Overeem
it's like
7. Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know. They got to at least price those guys up a little bit because they have such immense upside in the 5-round contest that they're just like begging you to play the underdog in these matches.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you would have priced up Harris, 300 and then Overeem like 1,000, then you probably would have evened it out.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem is just they don't have captain and assistant regional manager.
Yep.
That's the big problem. If they would add that in there, I don't think it would be nearly as bad. And there's just nothing you could do about it until they change that. So like, I think in FanDuel, the last two, I could be wrong, but I think there was solo takedowns both times.
That's nice.
And they have a captain and they don't even do it right. They don't even have a different salary.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you still been playing most KBO slates?
No, I played last night because I had some tickets.
Yeah.
And I guess I probably should know this. This is what I do for a living. But if you don't play, if it's a contest specific ticket and it doesn't fill, you lose that money. If it fills, you either get paid out or if like there's a possible another event, they might like keep it on there.
Oh,
but yeah, if it doesn't fill for a contest specific ticket, you lose your money is what the DK VIP email told me yesterday. So I didn't even want to play, but I'm like, whatever. I got these tickets. I probably just entered everything for League of Legends one night and won the ticket or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to play. It's been going down in popularity too, which is what I guess would happen. And I'm a little biased being in Central Time, and it's like the worst possible time for 4:30 in the morning. It's just like the worst.
Yeah.
Like I 3:30 in the morning, you just stay up, even though that's pain in the ass. 5:30 in the morning, you kind of like just get up. You could do it either way. 4:30 is just like right in the middle, like just the worst possible time.
Yeah.
But yeah, they got 100,000 GPP tonight. Their big dollar ones only 80,000, which is one of the lower ones. So it's 10,000 entries in the $11.
Yeah.
10,000 people. It's not a lot. So I think I might just play when they have like the bigger nights or something like that. But I'm not going to stay up. I'm just going to.
Do you think like, obviously, when all the real sports went away and League of Legends was just here waiting for us with open arms, and there was just all of this excitement and energy of, wow, this is actually a pretty fun DFS game. It's a pretty good sweat. And now we're coming out of it. You could tell the sites were trying to manufacture enthusiasm around KBO, but the combination of real sports coming back, people not feeling like they're just locked in their homes and don't mind staying up till 3 a.m. to build lineups or whatever. Like it does seem like KBO DFS might be kind of a casualty here as we enter this next phase.
I would agree. The only caveat I think is if MLB doesn't come back.
Yeah.
If MLB doesn't come back, then maybe not. Because okay, we got golf, MMA, NASCAR, League of Legends coming back. There's soccer, but like even like this soccer with the Bundesliga or however you pronounce the.
You play that?
League. No, I don't. Set the soccer modeling soccer for me is such a pain in the ass because there's so many variations on the name. And so, like, when you're gathering information from different sources, stats, odds, blah, 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 you have to match all the names up. And it just takes forever. And, like, so, like, my Premier League is the main soccer league. That used to be the only one they had. You know, I've got hundreds and hundreds of names that I've matched up. And, like, these new leagues, I just don't even want to bother putting in that time. And so, like, I could use, like, Osmo's rankings or something. I don't think they even put anything up. I could be wrong. Maybe they started to after the first day, but like it's just too much of a pain in the ass. 37 cars blew an engine here. Shows you how much I know about NASCAR.
37 cars?
No, the 37.
I was like, that's the race, buddy.
There's like 2 cars out there.
Shut it down. That'd be wild to see the GPP scores. It's just like all these negatives and just 2 guys just racking up all these points.
No, I mean it wouldn't matter because it would finish your whatever you finished in, even if you're running into the pit, you'd still finish 4th or whatever the 37th car would be.
Yeah, but back to the KBO thing, I do agree with you because KBO would scratch that itch for people if they don't have MLB, but they still have a lock time issue.
They have a lock time and a lineups information issue. It's like the same thing with the Korean LOL league. It's not as bad because the Korean league doesn't release lineups at all. Oh no, they do, right? Like an hour before the Korean league does, I think. Baseball, it's like a half an hour before for a lot of times or less. And you still have the issues of outdoor stadiums with postponements.
Yeah.
So if you set your lineups at 9 Central, you got what, 8 hours or whatever. So you have to know like if the games are going to be likely to get rained out, who's likely to start or sit, and then you got to wake up a half an hour before 4:00 and then double check that you don't have a whole bunch of guys who aren't sitting out, and you have to have a process for quickly subbing those people. And this race is a shit show, huh? It's not good for DFS. It's just a bad sport with a bad time zone. So like soccer, one of their problems is it's usually like an 8:30, 9:30-ish start time, and the lineups come up an hour before.
Yeah.
That kind of sucks, but it's not the end of the world. This is just a level 10 times higher. 4:30 and the lineups come up a half an hour early, and there's weather concerns.
Do you think anyone from DraftKings, like say with any of these sports, these newer fringe sports like LOL or KBO, do you think they even make an effort to reach out to someone in the communications office of these Korean leagues to be like, hey, is there any way we can have a partnership here and work on getting information and lineups out earlier? It's a win-win for both your league and for us.
I have no idea. You'd think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt to at least ask. And you figure like the pub wouldn't be that bad for him. It's like it's an American site. Like who cares?
Yep. Carlos confirms that Alex didn't put out projections for Bundesliga. This is the first piece of evidence that he's an actual human being, I think, Brian.
Yeah, maybe that's possible. A hard drive only has so much, storage space.
He needs an external
plug, yeah. He needs maybe like an upgrade, a firmware upgrade or something.
Yeah.
So it's a small piece of evidence that maybe he is a human being.
Yeah.
But I'm not convinced.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like at this point we have enough stuff We got these random NASCAR, we got MMA. It's we're going to get PGA coming back here in mid-June, is it? The first one, I believe.
Yeah, it's here, let's check. We got the first one is 6/11.
Oh, do you know the one sport we haven't talked about that's still going? We got to talk a little outlaw golf. Noah Hoffman, the highest owned guy on the slate this week.
Forgot about Noah Hoffman. Yeah. Yeah, and he did pretty solid for DraftKings points anyways on the first day. Today he was struggling. Let me check and see how our guy's doing.
Let me know. I didn't play this slate. I didn't look at any projections. Was his ownership reflective of his projection, or was there a viral ownership premium for Noah Hoffman?
So I had him at like 24%, and he ended up being like 31 or 32.
So you would associate like 7 or 8% viral premium.
8-point bump from the DFS community on Noah Hoffman. Today he's got 2 birdies, 2 bogeys, which is not. He's got 3 holes left though.
Yeah,
which is not great for DFS, anyways. And yesterday he had a whole bunch of birdies, but a decent amount of bogeys. But he scored pretty well. Yeah, it's pretty funny too because it's definitely spread. The Noah Hoffman DFS whatever love to just not just our little circle or whatever. I see it in the Twitter thread. People talked about Noah Hoffman.
Oh yeah, we got to shout out Noah Hoffman tracker. I think I even won a trading card from him that I have not hit him up yet to receive yet. But Noah Hoffman tracker is doing some good work out there.
Yes, he's going shot by shot.
It's the access. Carlos says he was 100% Hoffman yesterday. That was the Lolz effect.
Carlos single-handedly bumped him up a couple points.
Yeah. Have you been watching? Have you been watching some of their Periscope stuff? The sweat?
Not this week, but I've watched, but the weeks before. Yeah. Why? What do you think?
I haven't been watching it, but I saw someone say that I think one of the cameramen that they liked his analysis and saying it was better than whatever's on the PGA shows. But I think that's a pretty low bar from what I hear. The PGA commenters are pretty bad.
They're fine. They're professionals. I do watch that pretty frequently. The problem is you're paying whatever a month for the NBC Gold PGA package.
Yeah.
And like they cut to commercials, and it's a commercial to go into the stream, and they only show like one group, and like Outlaw Golf is showing like 4 groups. And you're paying $8 a month or whatever it is to see one group from the PGA, and they won't sometimes they won't do the morning, they'll only do the afternoon, or they'll only do certain days. That's what everyone's complaining about, I think. But like the announcers are just their guys from Golf Channel, so they're pros. I mean,
yeah.
Whatever you think about that.
Yeah, it seems like. What would you say, has the level of interest in playing outlaw golf, has that held, or do you think it's waning as well?
I think it's held pretty well. So yesterday was another 50,000 the first. That Scottsdale one the week before was like 200 or something like that. I wonder if they did the full slate, if they'd get more interest, like classic golf. So classic golf is Thursday through Sunday with a cut.
Yeah.
And they're just doing one day showdowns.
Yeah.
I wonder if it would get more interest if they did 3 days. So like you do 3 days, because Outlaw Golf only goes 3 days. So you do 3 days on a Tuesday, Wednesday would be showdown, and then Thursday would be the final showdown.
Okay.
I mean, like that's how I'd kind of want to see it to go. But it might not matter. People might, these are just all degens maybe.
Yeah. It's also, Lewis says in the chat that they Twitch stream Noah both days. And unless I missed something, Noah Hoffman became the Twitter DFS viral star because he didn't show up for an event that they accidentally scheduled it for. Is there any other piece of that origin story I'm missing?
That's it. It's the press conference.
The interview sponsored by Miller Lite.
By Miller Lite. That's it. Nothing else.
What's so great about that, and again, it just proves in general, if you just need a PR playbook for basically anything, you just own the mistake, you air it out publicly, you have fun with it, you don't deny, you don't try to sweep it under the rug. And look, he literally, the Outlaw Golf now has more interest because of this snafu. They have a quote unquote media superstar because of this accidental snafu. Like, that's, you got to lean into the PR skid.
I agree 100%. Here, let's do a quick one. Outlaw Golf Twitter followers. So remember, they started at whatever, like 200 or something before their first DraftKings offering.
Yeah. So I'm guessing followers.
Followers first, yeah. They started in 2016, if that matters to you.
Yeah, I haven't seen it recently. When it first popped up, I looked. I wanted to say it's only at like what 2,300 followers.
Almost 32 now.
32. Okay, that might have been when I saw it. So they've probably grown like 1,000 in the past few weeks.
It's about 1,000 a week, I would say. Maybe a little less than that.
Yeah.
And how many tweets do you think that guy tweets? A decent amount. How many tweets do you think he's got?
When did you say the account was created?
2016 August.
Okay. I'll say 12,000 tweets.
757.
Wow, he's minimalist.
Yep.
Okay.
And I would imagine half of those are in the last 2 weeks. No, and like a quarter of them are no Hoffman tweets.
Taylor, you just pulled up, I think, a different Outlaw Golf tournament Twitter account.
Let's see it.
Official Twitter for the John Outlaw Memorial Tournament.
Good luck to John Outlaw.
I will say, yeah, they. I have searched for Outlaw myself and gotten the random stuff. So it's they need to go pay for it. There it is. Now we got it up on the screen. Very nice.
What did he have? He had another tweet about being hungover again, didn't he? Did you see that one?
No, I didn't.
I don't want to scroll all the way down. He's like, if anyone doesn't show up from being hungover, we'll tweet out immediately or something like that.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
They give you more notice than the PGA Tour does. Like, you don't know Louis Oosthuizen has a bad back until like 12 golfers have teed off.
Because you know that this guy running the tour just has all these guys like on a group thread, you know, and it's just like, hey man, feeling a little hungover today. Are there any other betting markets on Outlaw Golf other than DFS? Do any of the sports books have stuff?
Yes,
they do.
On Outlaw.
Yeah,
and they add stuff each week. So like the first week there was just first place odds, one way first place, and then they did like first place, and I can't remember what the second one was, but now they have first place, third, fifth, top 3, top 5, top 10, head to head. So basically, close to PGA levels now.
Yeah. That's impressive.
Yeah, or sad.
I mean, yeah, I wasn't sure how much of a secondary market was popping
Don't you think Dana White has kind of led the way here as far as like these other leagues? Like, just get out there, do something.
Yeah.
Play baseball, play in Arizona. I know it's an argument between the players and the owners at this point, but like, just play in Arizona and Florida, play in the states that it's legal. Come back, especially the outdoor ones.
Yeah. And I think I said this last week, like I'm not one to like bow at the altar of Dana White and deify him, but just from like a logistical standpoint that he was able to pull this off, jumping through all the necessary hoops, like it's pretty damn impressive. It speaks to how headstrong he is and how when he has his mind set on getting something done, he's just going to get it done.
And there's like no benefit to him either, right? Like, because he sold the company, right? Somebody owns that. Now he's just the.
I was reading his Wikipedia the other week, and I want to say that he's incentivized. He owns some of the company still.
Okay, so there is some, but I don't think that's what fuels him. I think he's just a maniac in a good way.
I think he's a maniac, and I think he truly does love those fighters. He loves the league. He loves being a promoter. And it's also pretty crazy when you hear the post fight speeches. Like, he is the dude. Like, everything goes through Dana. Like, when you're talking, those guys are talking directly to Dana. Like, they might say they're talking to the fans or whatever, but it's like, Dana, do you see me angling to like get a beef going? Dana, will you give me this fight? Dana, thank you. It's nuts.
It was this last week, especially, and it
Yeah.
feels like with no fans there, that's even more personable. Like they just talk right to him after the fight's over.
Yeah.
What did you think of that? The performances. I know you were heavy on what's his name, Giga.
Yeah. I
And
don't even remember what even happened.
He got
with
71.5.
Oh yeah, it was kind of underwhelming, but
Yeah, it's underwhelming. At that price point, it was decent, but I don't think he was in the winning lineup.
Yeah, my problem is I didn't have hardly any of the main event fight, and so then I was having a great day until that final fight, and I needed like I needed like a Giga score from the winner. And
That's why those fights are so heavily owned, because let's say you're in the position you're in where you need them to score low amounts of points. It's almost impossible for you to get that occurrence, because let's say they don't get an early round knockout. Well, that means they're going like 5 rounds of punching each other, which is just going to rack up DK points. And one of them is going to get the 30 points for unless they have a split decision.
You need it like that Romero Israel Adanya fight where they're literally just kind of dancing and not touching each other at all.
Right. It can happen. That's true. It can happen. It's just unlikely that, like, when you're sitting there and and you're looking good and you got the big fight coming up, it's like, yeah. You want to have some piece of that,
Yeah.
hopefully. But I mean, unless their ownership's so high, I mean, you could easily, get 6 knockouts before the last fight, and then they need to have a monster score to catch up to you. So
right.
You can win without it.
Right. And that was the thing that hurt me, because I was doing pretty good, but I had so much Giga or whatever, like a lot of people did, but I had a ton. I was at like 75 or 80%. So when you have that many, then I didn't have many lineups with the 5, 100+ point guys.
Yeah. I think I had like 60%. Lewis says Giga wasn't in the winning lineup. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. I'm kind of bummed that we don't have a card Saturday. Like, I would have like, it was fun having 3 last week, but I would have much rather have had one of those on Saturday.
Wait, there's a card Saturday, isn't there?
No, there's one next Saturday, the 30th, but not one this Saturday.
What? I thought for sure there was one this Saturday. 6/6.
6/6, and then this Sunday is what, 5/23, and then next Saturday 5/30 is and I don't think they've put anything up on DraftKings. That card's still coming together. But okay. Dana tweeted about it yesterday that it's going down. I think they have like 5 fights confirmed.
Okay, so it's nothing this weekend and then 2 Saturdays in a row.
Yeah. The thing that's crazy. Oh, what?
What a tease with that Wednesday.
I know.
Fight. I thought, they're going to do Wednesday, Saturday every week now. This is going to be awesome.
What kind of is crazy though about, like, you think about at minimum what you'd want to train, for one of these fights. Like, these guys want at least a 4 to 6 week camp. Some of these fights aren't even scheduled for a week and a half from now. And I know, like, we saw that one guy who fought Giga, man, that guy had a great performance.
Yeah, like Irvin or something like that.
Yeah, Rivera, was it?
Rivera, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was, man.
That was impressive.
Bad. Yeah, especially, like, it didn't seem like they should be in the same weight class or something.
No.
Height class for sure. He was way taller than him.
Giga is pretty fun to watch just because there's not too many guys that have that kind of kicking game.
Yeah. The Rivera guy, though, I'd like to see him train a little bit and then get in a different fight, see what he can do.
And I think, the reason that guy takes that fight, right? I mean, like, he probably wouldn't have gotten a shot like this otherwise. And now all of a sudden he got his shot. he's definitely on Dana's radar. We'll probably get another fight down the road just off of that performance. And that's, I don't know, that's kind of a cool story.
Yeah. Yeah. I bet Dana does like seem like that guy. Like he appreciates when a guy just fills in last minute.
Yeah.
I watched the Rogan Fight Companion while that was live for the first time. Never done that before.
Yeah.
Like I had Rogan on Roku and then the fight on my computer.
Yeah.
And it was they didn't talk about the fights at all though, like the entire time until
They did.
the Overeem fight. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they barely even talked about that one too. They just went, oh.
Well, that makes me feel better about our fight companion show because we weren't talking about it much either.
I imagine that's how most of them go. Like that's what I want to see. I think I told you this. Like years ago, I wanted it to go in this direction. My buddy had an idea of just like broadcasting games on the internet, like 10, 15 years ago. I'd much rather hear someone interesting talk about a game or a fight than Joe Buck, or some of these NFL color guys are just so brutal on Fox.
Yeah.
They're just so boring and cliched. And it's like, who hires these guys? Like, who thinks this is interesting?
I pretty much watch all live sports on mute other than like NFL Red Zone Sundays.
Yeah. Red Zone's awesome. I mean, that's all I watch too is Red Zone because of that.
Yeah.
Because of that. But like even ESPN is just brutal with the sob stories or whatever they
like for the draft and stuff.
Yeah. And they've been doing that stuff for years now. They hired that guy from MTV, Chris Connolly, whatever, back in the day. That was the start of it. Like once they started getting rid of like Keith Olbermann, Dan Patrick left, and once all those guys started leaving, man, that just I haven't watched ESPN in years for more than a few minutes. I don't even watch the drafts anymore. It's just so annoying.
Even the UFC fight on Saturday had kind of a couple bad combos. One, them running like the guy's story, like I know it's bad, but man, they were really ramming that down our throats with, his daughter. And then on top of that, there were a million commercials on that card. It was kind of rough.
Yeah, that I didn't watch that. I was doing the fight companion with that one.
Oh yeah.
So I'm glad, that they didn't shove it down my throat. It would be nice if they like changed their contracts. Obviously, like the cable companies aren't going to do this, but it'd be cool if they could have snuck this in before they got sharp to the internet back in the day. To like, okay, but we keep the internet feed and we can release it to the public like an API. It'll have all of your commercials on it. But like they can announce over it whenever they want. Like, why not? Like the advertisers should be fine with it. Like the Miller Lite commercial still plays. And like Joe Schmo can broadcast over it. There would be so much more interesting content for sports viewing.
Right. It would almost like from their perspective, like if they could have something within the API where you can't, apologies if you basically were just saying this, but like where you can't talk over the commercials or whatever.
Yeah, I didn't say that, but yeah, sure. Yeah. Why not?
Right. Because from their standpoint, the whole reason they hire Joe Buck is because in their minds, they think Joe Buck is going to make this game more interesting or accessible for the viewer. And our premise is that's not true. Why not democratize it and let, anyone who wants to try to put out a better version. And then your advertisers are getting more eyeballs on it. And people are able to hear from people they want. I mean, it seems like it makes sense.
And at this point, too, you could get your 10 million viewers on Fox. I'm just making up numbers here. And 1 million viewers on the internet that wouldn't have watched it to begin with. Like you might expand your audience. And they think of it like it's the 1980s or something where they're the monopoly. Where it's like, no. Like we got to put what's the announcer? The Howard Cosell. He's a legend. So we just need another Howard Cosell and Monday Night Football and we'll be fine. It's like, well, you don't have a monopoly on content anymore.
Right.
And the announcers are legends. Howard Cosell was great and everything, but like, because that was the only thing to watch. That was the only thing on TV. So of course, like people are going to think these guys are the greatest because that's all that there is. And that's not the way it is anymore. Like sports is just so far behind. They're propping up Comcast and all these cable companies that no one wants to deal with anymore is because they lock into sports. Yeah. They lock into sport. If it wasn't for live sports, how many people would ditch their cable and TV?
Oh yeah.
Tons of dudes would.
Well, and it's illustrated by the fact, so what every single year who's in the Monday Night Football booth is like this big thing. It's like, who are they gonna get Peyton Manning? Are they bringing Booger back? Are they gonna try to get another guy? But it's like, it doesn't matter who you bring in. The whole concept of it is broken and archaic and not representative of how people consume sports and media now.
Yeah, it's totally archaic. It's the exact same structure from 50 fucking years ago. And like, look at in chat, Lou Sherman says, LOL commentary is great. That's a perfect example. League of Legends commentary is awesome. And you could probably do even better than that. They're kind of modeling themselves off of this classic legacy sports broadcasting, and they're already way better because they can just go from so many different people all over the world and try them out and switch out guys and try new things. And there's guys who are on Twitch who do it themselves. I don't know if you've ever seen any of these like rogue streams, and they
Yeah.
announce games. And I doubt League of Legends cares.
No. Yeah, I mean, because and now that you say it, like, there isn't even, if there is, I'm missing it. What kind of ad integrated placements do they have in those LPL streams or any of those streams? I don't see hardly any advertising
No, there's some ads like in between.
in between.
Yeah, in between. Not a ton though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen on the LPL ones, they have like those Chinese sports drinks,
Yeah.
like these weird. I've seen some Chinese advertisements, and they're not as foreign as you'd think. There are some of it's kind of weird, but like they use kind of the same marketing on kids that we do.
Yeah. All right, guys. This is Brian. Is there any other topics we didn't hit on before we wrap this up?
I don't think so.
Guys, thank you for hanging with us tonight. This was our official Darlington Toyota 500 companion show. And other than that moment where we thought all 37 drivers crashed, it was fairly uneventful. But yes, thank you as always for coming out. We are here like clockwork every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Next week, we'll be able to preview an MMA card, and we'll be getting more sports back. Brian, any final words?
No, thanks for listening. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. For my co-host Brian, for our producer Taylor, and for Joe Rogan, who is now has millions and millions of dollars, this is Lolz.